Hey, what's up, guys? Hope you're doing great. Today, I just decided to make this very short video where I will be showing you how to use one of the interesting well, it's not a programming language, but one of these interesting tools that you can use for programming stuffs left and right, like really, really small, light things that you can do whenever you're doing videos. Let me just show you why I'm doing this video. So, um, after watching one of the One Piece episodes where Luffy was punching Kaido, I wanted to make a video where I'm actually counting the number of punches he's giving Kaido in this episode. So I actually did not know how to make a count. I actually noticed that I cannot make a counter because I thought there would be some tools on Excel, PowerPoint that you can tweak and get something that will make counts like this one. But after searching a lot on YouTube, left and right, I saw a couple of videos, but they were quite challenging and limiting on how to make a counter. So after checking around and knowing that I've been doing some programming for my studies back then, I figured out that okay, why not try to make a counter using a graphic user interface? Like, I mean, these are some skills that we have, but we generally don't know that we can also use them in some situations like this one. So today I'm going to be showing you how you can make a graphic user interface with PowerPoint and how to be able to extract this and compile it into a standalone software on its own. So you won't need Matlab. You won't need to have Matlab all the time to run your little software, and it's very intuitive and very easy to do. So you don't really need to have like these complex programming skills to be able to do that. So without wasting much time, let's dive into it. So to start off with, you need to have Matlab installed. So you need to have Matlab. It looks like this. You can see this is the one I was working on, but I would definitely start a complete new project so that we do everything from scratch, okay? I'm just, yeah, let's, once you install MATLAB, this is how it's going to look like. For those who already have MATLAB, that's quite okay. If you don't have MATLAB, you can always install it, but the license is expensive. If you're a student, normally there are some student licenses which are quite affordable. But if you have MATLAB from your work or from any other thing, it's also good. You can use it. So I'm going to show you how to do this from scratch for those of you who already have like a hands-on on MATLAB. There is this new, it's not new, it has always been there. So it's called apps. My MATLAB version is 2019. So it's apps. I think most of the versions they have that. It's called apps. So you go to apps, then you're going to click on design app, and then it's going to load. Yeah, then you have this. Okay, so these are like some templates because MATLAB is used a lot scientifically. But then what we are trying to do is just to get a small thing. We just want to make a counter, right? We just want to say, okay, count from one to this with a certain speed. Okay, so we are going to take a blank. We're just going to take a blank template that has nothing, and then we are going to build it up ourselves. So I've clicked on that blank one, and then I have this. Okay. What I like with this graphic interface is that you have pretty much all the things you want here, right? You just need to pull them in. So if I go back to my PowerPoint just to make sure that we see, okay, this is what we want. We want our counter to look like this, right? We want to have counter, we want to have something counting here. We want to start, we want the speed, we want the end, we want to count and stop. Okay. So yeah, let me pull this picture instead. I think it's going to be easier having this picture than all of these things. Come. Okay, so this is what we want to design. So this is our app. So we basically want to have a start. So this is like if I want to count from 1 to 500. So this is the start, the stop, the end, and then this is like the let's say the rate, right? the speed at which I want to the speed at which I want to count. So I could decide to go 1, 2, 3, 4. If I put like 5, it's going to go 1 plus 5 plus 5. It's going to go with a step of 5. Yeah, so it's actually a step, not a speed. We're going to, when we redesign that, we're just going to put here step instead rather than speed. Then we have a count button, or let's say run button. Then we have a stop. So let's see what we can do. Going back to the app designer. So we have this. First thing, we are going to pull our main, we pull in the two buttons. So we have, I pull that once, I click and I pull. Okay, I pull the second button and it's there. So I'm just going to rename them. You can see on this panel on the right, you actually have the properties of this feature. Okay, so this is a button, which is going to, you have here text. So this is where you actually give it a name. So I'm going to call this the count. This is going to be our count button. Here we have the stop. So this is the button we click anytime we want to stop the app. The next thing we want to have a title. So we use a label, put the label there. We can also change its name from here and we call it counter. Okay. Then if you want to actually increase the fonts and everything, you see you have it here, the font size. So I'm just going to tweak that to maybe change that to 25. Okay. Maybe 30 makes sense. Yeah. Then we have 30. Now the next thing I want is fields that are going to take the start, the step, and the end. Okay. So we do that using edit field. So this edit field, numeric edit field. So I'm just gonna pull that here. 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Oh, we can even change the design. We can actually decide to make it instead vertically, rather than having them horizontal the way it was in the design. So I'm instead going to put them like this. Okay. Okay. Then I'm going to rename them. This is I'm gonna call it start. Okay. I'm going to call this the step. So that is counting step. And then the last one, I'm going to call it the end. Okay, so we are counting from, I'm just positioning that like this. Well, you can design it the way you want. Unfortunately, I'm not very good at designing, so I'm just going to do put it like that. Okay. Then you can already put values in here. Okay, you can already put values. So to put a value there, like the initial values, you can put it here. So you can see this is one. So I want to count maybe from 0. The start is 0. The step, it's going to put 1. And then the end, let's say we are counting till 500. Okay. Okay. Now we have count, stop. Let's look how we close. Okay, we already have quite a couple of things. Now the last thing we need is the screen or the display. Okay. So there are actually two things you can use. You can either decide to use where is it? You can actually decide to use the same edit field like this one. Like you can pull an edit field. You can put an edit field here. Oh no, this is a checkbox. You can pull an edit field like that. Okay. Then you can maybe, yeah, maybe you can pull that and then pull it like this. Okay. Then this is your screen. Then I want my numbers to be centered, right? So you see there's a palette. You can go here and choose whether you want to align right, left, or center. So I put it in the center, and I'm going to change the fonts to maybe 30 as well. There we go. There we go. And also I can change the background. You see down here there's the font color. You can actually change the color of the text to maybe red. You can change the background to, let's say, black. Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe a black screen would also be good. Um, yeah, I think black looks good. Let's put here blue, white. Yep, white will be good. So now we are having already something. You can then click on run just to see how it's going to look like. Oh, of course, we need to save it, right? So the extension is always an Mlab. So what you want to change is just the name. So we are going to call it counter. Save. It's gonna pop up at some point. Let's be patient. Here it comes. And that's our visual. For now, there's nothing. So I can change these values, of course. I can change that to 5. I can change this to 10. So we're counting from 5 with a step of 10 to 500. Okay, now we have the pretty much the front end, I would say. Now it's time to make things work, okay? So on this app, you have design view and you have the code view. So this is the design view, the code view. You see there's already like some code here. All this code are relative to all the things that we've created here, okay? Okay, now we want to we want that when we click count, it's going to take the initial value. It's going to run a loop between this to this, a for loop from this to this with a step of that, okay? And what's nice is all these elements that we've created here are here. So you can always find their names here. So you have start edit field, step edit field, and you can also rename them here, right? You just need to click. Um, yeah, you can decide to rename them. You see, so you can rename this instead of n edit field. You can just give it a different variable name. So it depends on you. But once you give them these initial names, Matlab, the tool automatically generates a name to it. Yeah, generates a name for it. So now we have the code. What do we do? How do we start? One thing it's nice. We are going to start with the count to make sure that it's working. So I'm going to right click on this. I go to callbacks and I add a button push to function callback. Okay. Click that. It automatically brings me into the code. So whenever I'm going to click that button, I need to write whatever is going to happen in here. As we mentioned, one nice thing, we can always see our variables here. So one thing we want to do is we want to first of all make sure that we know, we can just start by saying that, okay, once someone clicks the button, we want that our display maybe displays, let's say 4,000, just to test that things are okay. Okay. So when you click that, we say the variable is called app. What's the name? A minute. So this variable, its name is called edit field. Okay, we're just going to give it a name. We are going to rename this as display. Okay, display edit, display edit field. Okay, so that when we go into the code, we play app display. You see, what's nice is this version really proposes already. So you can just press the arrow button to the right. So we have display edit field dot value. So we actually want to change this value to 4,000. Right? Then we click on run. Let's see what happens. So if I click count, 4,000. So our function is good. Okay. We go back to it. We want to create a second function for the stop. We go callback, click create a callback. So when you click on stop, say on app display, we want to put it maybe to 0. Want to put it back to 0. So we run that. We have count 4000 stop. Oh, there is a mistake. Oh yeah, true. There is a mistake. We are putting zero into all this thing, but instead of the dot value, so it's the value we are changing. It's not the whole component itself. Now count 4000 stop 0 count stop. Okay, now we have our two functions. Next thing we are going to do is just put a for loop. We are just going to get the initial parameters and then we put a for loop, right? So let's go. So we are going to say, okay, now that we have that, we're going to start a for loop. We say for I, right? Going from app dot, what was the, we have the start, edit field dot value, don't forget, the step app dot step edit value dot edit field. Oops, what's happening with my keyboard? Then dot value, and then app dot n, damn it, dot value. Okay. Oh, it's unequal here, not that. So we go from, let me put some separators here so that it makes it clear. Okay, so we are going from the start with the step of that to the end. And then what we want to do is, since we are counting, we're going to say, okay, app dot display edit field dot value. We're going to give it the app dot display dot value plus one semicolon. Okay, then we run it again. Okay, this actually takes 0, 1, 500. Okay, stop. So we want to actually initialize the display edit dot value to 0. Okay, dun, dun, dun. This normally should start with 1. Okay, now this is normal, right? Because it's a software, its execution time is very, very fast. So this loop from I going from 0 to 500, it's very fast. The computer is very fast. So we need to put like a pause, right? We need to pause the code. We need to pause the code, let's say by 0 0.1 or 0.01, for example. We need to pause whenever we get into the loop. Now it's working because we have added, like, every time it executes this, it's going to pause for 0.01 seconds before it goes back to the next loop. Okay. Without this pause, you won't see anything because it's just so fast that you click it and it has already counted from 1 to 500. So you need to pause. Now you can decide to reduce the speed or yeah, you can decide to make it slow by tweaking this variable here. So now you see it's literally counting. This is counting with the speed of 0.1 second. Stop. Okay. Stop. Okay, it's normal. Stop is just putting it back to 0, okay? Which is what we actually asked for. Now we can decide to make this a variable. Like we can decide that, okay, we can decide to choose the speed by ourselves. So we go back to our design view and we're going to add an edit field here that we are going to call speed. Okay, you're going to call that speed, and in the code, instead of this, we are going to call app.speed edit field dot value. All right, we now need to give it, let's initialize that to, let me think, we can give it maybe 1 second. 1 second, it's literally just, we are literally creating the clock if we put 1 second. So let's go. Okay, count. We just created like a clock, right? Because it's counting per second. All right. Now let's see, let's make it faster. See, wow, once you change, it already changes. Let's make it a little bit more faster. 0.01 seconds. That's like one. Good. We can even decide to put it here in milliseconds, right? So that we say, okay, because when it's not very intuitive for someone to put something less than 1, right? So let's even make it more. We can decide to put here in the title the speed, in brackets we say in milli. Oh, yeah, I can even go down and say in milliseconds. And then since you are the one who understands the code, you know exactly what you can ask. Okay. Well, calling it speed doesn't really make sense, or really. I think scientists are going to kill me for that. I think it's the rate, but we don't mind. We understand. So we have that. Now we need to change that in the code. We need to multiply. Since it's milliseconds, we multiply by 0.001 because now the person is going to give his time. He's going to put one. When he puts 1 millisecond, we just multiply by 0.001 to make sure that we have it here in the code. Great. Now, the next thing is making sure that, let's count. This is milliseconds. It goes really fast. 1 millisecond. Can decide to say, okay, let's do 10 milliseconds. Count a little bit less faster. That's still fast. Great. We are doing great. We are doing absolutely great. Now we need to be able to click our stop button and something happens and it stops, right? Because when I click that, this happens, stop. It just goes to, oh, it works. Count. No, count. Stop. Okay, see, stop. Wow, okay. Now we need to make sure that our stop button is functioning quite okay. We already created a function for that. So the easiest way to make things happen, I know you can use the try and catch things like that to create errors and stop it, but I'm just going to use a very, very easy method. So I'm going to create a variable. Here the variables or a property. So I'm going to create a new property here. I'm going to make it public, which I'm going to call um, running, running app. I'm just going to call it running, yeah. And I'm going to put it 0. I'm going to give it a 0 value, okay? Now, I want that whenever you click the button stop, it's going to set that variable I just created called running. It's going to set it to 0. And I'm going to try to use this running app, this running property into the main code here. So I'm going to be like, okay, if app dot running equals to 0, do some action. Okay, you do this thing. You do this thing. Else break. Wow, I'm so proud of my keyboard. So we have, so we say if this equals to 0. Oh, no, 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 no. I'm mixing things up. It's the reverse. So we instead going to go into our loop. So once we see that, so if yeah, just making sure my thing looks clean and good. Can I take it back? Yeah, perfect. So I have as break. Then I'm gonna end this. Okay, let me explain. So whenever someone clicks on count, when the count button is pushed, it's gonna go into the loop. If we notice that app running is equals to 0, it's going to run it's going to run the counting. And whenever it's not equal to 0, it's going to stop. So I actually have to give it something else here. Let's say something else like 5. Yeah, let's give 5. So whenever it's 0, it's going to run. Whenever it's not 0, it's going to make it 5. And it's going to, whenever it's 5, it's going to break. So whenever I'm just also going to give in app dot running. I'm gonna give it 0 value. So when app dot running equals to 0, so when you click the button, this is what happens. It's going to check this. It's going to put this to 0. It's going to put the app running to 0. It's going to start the loop. It's going to check, is it 0? It means that we've clicked the count button only once, right? So when you click the count button, it automatically puts this to 0 and then it gets into this loop, right? But now one thing which is nice is once you click also the stop button, it's going to run this and still be running this. Like it's going to run both functions together, right? Because running this has nothing to do with that. It's going to start running this one. It's going to run this and put it 5. But since we want to interrupt what's going on in here, putting 5 into running, it means that when we loop here and we're about to loop again, it's going to check this. When it checks this, and that here we have said, okay, this should become 5, it's going to skip this and then go to this and break. And break is like telling it to stop running this loop. Okay. Let's just test that and see if things are working. So let me put a higher number, right? Let's put 5,000 and we click on count. So it's counting. When I click stop, it stops. Okay. If I click count, it's going to start all over from start. So I click count, it starts again. Maybe it's too fast. Let's take 1 second. Count. You see that? Perfect. Stop. It stops. So we just made a stopwatch. Like we just made a stopwatch, we made a counter, whatever you want. And don't forget you can change the designs here. What's really nice is you can easily change your designs here. You can give different colors. You can use italics. You can even change the fonts, the font type. I don't know if you're a fan of Times New Roman or Arial Black, whatever. You can increase the font size. Let's take 50. Let's make it big. Okay, let's make it huge. And that brings us to the end of our video, right? So you have count and we have a counter. Change the values to 10,000. I want it to run with a step of 50, for example, and let it start from 10. Count. Oh, oh, okay. I noticed a silly mistake I made. So in the code, actually, we said we are increasing by 1 instead of increasing by the step. So that's instead this the step, not 1. Because then if you change the step to, let's say, 100, and you're going to, let's say, 10,000, let's make it a little bit more slow. Let's take 1 second. Oh no, let's take 100 milliseconds. So now you see it's counting with plus 100, right? If I didn't change the step, if I didn't change the 1 to the step, it would have been doing like 1, 2, 3. It would have ended still after some time, but you will be showing different values. Okay. Okay, that brings us to almost part of the end of the video. Oh, then one last thing, because I also promised to show you how to make it a standalone. Okay, you want to make it, you want your software to be independent of Matlab. You don't need to open Matlab. You want to share maybe the software to someone else who doesn't have Matlab. Then this is where it becomes more interesting, or you want to even extract it and use it on another computer that doesn't have Matlab. Okay, so this is how to go about it. You are going to go back to the main Matlab thing. Then you're going to use this tool called deploy tool. You just type the deploy tool and click enter. So you want to compile your application, right? You can also decide to do like a web app compiler like this one. It means you'll be able to run it online or something, but I want it to be a standalone application on my computer such that I can also share. So I'm going to take application compiler. It, it's going to send you to this one. So here you can literally add the application name. I called it counter. You can put your name there into plug. You can put your email, the company. I don't know what company you're working for, but I'm going to just put my into plug again. You can put a summary, quick summary. This app permits you, or not permits you. Yeah, you can use this as a counter or stopwatch, blah 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 blah. Anything you can put. Oh no, this was actually contact. What did I when I put? Oh, this is a summary of it. Then you can actually give the full description of your app here, like with a lot of details. This and this did this. So chick chick jack, chick chick jack. Take your time and type something good. These are the different files it's going to create. It's going to create like a counter.exe file, a readme, and a splash PNG. The splash PNG is like the image. It's going to the image that's associated to your app. In the readme, in the readme, you're going to find all the things that you're putting, all the application information that you're putting here. So you can also define the version. It can be the version 1.0, it can be the version 2.0, anyone. You can define the version control here. Okay. Um, this is the image. You can decide to use different image. Okay. So this is the image that is going to show there. I don't know. You can click there and pull on a random image from your computer. Just pull one and put it in there because this is like the picture that's going to represent your application. And once you have done all that after setting up everything here, then you need to choose the application. So you come here, add main file, click on the plus. It's going to show you that, and then you choose it. Okay, you open. When you open, you see it's there. So what's left is just to create the package here. Okay. So this is the runtime you see here. This is like runtime. The runtime is downloaded from web. Okay. This runtime downloaded from web, it means that you're going to install when the person is going to install the software on his own computer, it's going to download this runtime because there's like a runtime, like a backup thing that like a support on which the software is going to be based on. Most softwares have that. So Matlab has its runtime. You can decide to go with this option, runtime downloaded from web, and then you generate your software. It's going to be very light. It's going to take a small time for you to generate the app. But when the person installing it on his laptop would need internet to download the runtime from internet. Else you can decide to package everything. Like you want to create like the software on its own and maybe share it to a friend through a hard drive. So, or maybe you want to install it on a computer that has no internet. Then you use this other option because it's going to package the software plus the runtime, and you won't need internet to install the runtime for your app to function on the new device. Okay, then you click that. Um, I'm not. I don't know how much time that's gonna take. Let's just see. Um, yeah, let's do it. So it's going to ask to save. Yeah, I just save it there. See, it's packaging it. It might take some time, but I'm just going to show you the one I already did previously, how the folders are going to look like. So this is the one I did. It's going to create a folder like this because I used it the first time for counting the one piece thing I said in the beginning. Then you can have the different distributions here. So this is like the .az that you can install. And then this is the app installer. You click that also, it's going to install it. You have here, okay, then once you have installed the software, it's going to pop this up. It's going to create this other folder that you can just click here. You can double click for your software to run directly. Okay. Yeah, this is just the testing. Let's see, is it going to take much time or oh, it's all done. Okay. Then we can just check that one out. It's called yeah. You see, this is the folder counter. Inside you have this three files. You have for distribution. Um, then you have your app there, and then you have for testing. So if you want to share, you share this folder, you share the whole folder. Okay. And that brings us to the end of the video. I hope you liked it. Even if you didn't like it, I hope you enjoyed and learned something new, how you can use Matlab, because most of the time people think Matlab is meant only for scientists. And yeah, you can actually, there are a lot of things that you can do out of this. Be it you're a YouTuber or whatever you're doing in your life, you might need to sometimes display one or two things and show people how they work, and you would prefer to have an app that you're clicking buttons left and right just to show people. This could this can easily be this can be a nice tool to do that. There is also Java. I think there is Java. You can also use Java on what's the name of this IDE? I think it's something with beans. Is it NetBeans or something? Yeah, it also has this type of features you can use to create customized apps by not knowing how to really, because when you say like it's automatically generated code, you see all this part of the code, you didn't need to do it. The setup, this is like those who really know how to code, they would code this as well, because this is just like the the design. All the designs were just pulling left and right, resizing, changing the fonts, everything. It automatically generates the codes here for it, right? So you don't need to learn all these things, which are also not very difficult to understand, but we don't need that because let's make life easy. Okay. Then, without wasting much time, let's end the video and yeah, see you next time. And I hope you liked it, and just gonna leave us a thumbs up. Make sure to share. What else can we ask for? I don't know. Have a great time. Peace.